Hello and welcome to All About You with OMG and Friends, where we talk about the things that you think about and some things you don't. I am your host, OMG, along with my co-host,
Silky Smooth.
And
Festus Samoye.
We have Pastor Festus Samoye joining us today. As always, we'd like to thank you for joining us, and we ask that you please join in on the conversation, where your thoughts, your comments, and your opinions help drive the conversation. Today we're going to talk about the loss of humanity, and whereby we are briefly going to discuss your birthright citizenship as per, I think somebody calls them 45, as well as migrant, caravan, and then lastly we will talk about the HR 1242 bill that probably a lot of us don't know much about. But just synoptic overview regarding the migrant caravan. And all of you are aware that as of October 12th, there started out being 160 people, headed towards the border. And as they've gone through Central America, they have, kind of exponentially grown. So now it's almost 5,000 people. Here we are now.
Okay.
And they have now, I think at this point, kind of settled into Mexico City, some of them. But, the reason that they are fleeing, as you know, is for, running from persecution and poverty, as well as violence and gangs and all this other stuff. So even while they've been on the road, literally on the road, a lot of them have been kidnapped by gangs.
And for what?
Child trafficking, making them work for them as slaves.
Yeah.
So you got to think of
forcing slavery.
Absolutely, about where they are. So the journey, as you know, poses quite a few dangers, as opposed to women having babies and people getting colds, and you have children and all of that. So now they have finally, as of yesterday, I think, or on the 5th, maybe 2 days ago, arrived in Mexico City, where they have been somewhat offered some asylum.
Oh, okay.
Well, those who choose to take it. I don't think everybody's taking it. There are those who still want to come to the U.S. border. So, y'all know what that says, right?
Why?
I know, but 45 is already,
that's a lot of interesting things just in that. I'm not going to touch on that too much, but it's a lot of interesting things there because it speaks to American foreign policy. It speaks to the strength of other governments. Oftentimes we say, "Oh, why don't they just fix this? Why don't they just fix that?" If they could, they probably would.
Right.
So.
It's kind of a deep situation here, but I do think I have very strong feelings about their coming here. There's part of me that believes that there are a lot of people in this country, and they're steady getting to come over without any citizenship, and then that can automatically kind of lead me into the birthright citizenship. That's a whole nother thing that we'll just tap on really, briefly, because again, I want to get to the HR 1242 bill that probably most of you don't know about. But for the most part, they have almost 2,500 kids involved with all of this caravan, and while some have taken asylum in Mexico City, there are others, and there are 2 more groups that are coming that's starting to walk north now, and so they plan to still come to the U.S. border. So even though 45 has said, y'all can come over here if you want to, I'm going to have 15,000 active troops at the border.
Yeah.
We will shoot. We'll do whatever it takes.
They'll start shooting.
Absolutely.
Well, they're not going to just start opening fire on people. The threat was if these people use what would be considered deadly force, they would respond with deadly force. But the thing is, they'd respond in kind. But, and that comes, people say, well, them throwing rocks ain't deadly. It's like, David killed Goliath with a rock. You know what I'm saying? So you have to kind of consider that. But at the same time, I don't think that these people are coming.
I don't think
with
they're coming
ill
to
intent.
I don't think so either.
But the thing is, it's just like, if you throwing a party at your house and it's a nice party and it's somebody like, yo, I'll bring my cousin. You're like, dang, I don't know about that cousin. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then America got America got a nice party going. We could live here and freedom. You know what I mean? People aren't hanging you, shooting you.
Freedom is an illusion, if you ask me. I don't really engage in that. But that's a broad and ambiguous topic.
I think so. I agree.
But I guess compared to other places, compared to other places, it's better to be
the place to come where your money goes a lot further, because they're saying even in Mexico, their money doesn't go as far as it does here.
Yeah,
and so
all
they're
that's
still
true,
wanting
but it's
to come
just better
here.
for some people.
Absolutely, but 45 is pretty much, Trump has already said that, this is an invasion. y'all need, and he's talked to the Mexican government. Y'all need to take care of your people and stop them from coming this way.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not Mexican people. You
well,
know,
it's Honduran, it's Guatemalan, it's El
that's Central America.
It's Central America,
and
right?
And that's the thing, though. I think one of the major issues is that has brought about a lot of divisiveness is the language that our current president uses.
Well, isn't that always the case? I mean, he used the wrong language no matter what the circumstance.
Absolutely. And so when you say, well, we're building a border wall against Mexico, people think, man, the Mexicans are doing something too. And it's like, it's not the Mexicans, it's literally all those Central American countries that are fighting against war, drugs, and that's very interesting.
And this cartel is serious. They're taking people.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's very interesting about that is that right now we have a major drug epidemic in the United States.
Absolutely.
So you have to correlate the drug epidemic in the United States with the refugees.
Right, okay.
Because the thing is, these people would not be seeking asylum if we didn't have the drug epidemic that we are having. Because that's where the drugs are coming from.
Absolutely, that's a cartel. That's exactly what that's for. And like I said, they're taking people and snatching them and making them, the trafficking thing, which we talked about last week.
Forcing them to carry the drugs.
Forcing them to carry the drugs,
sex trafficking, you name it.
Yeah, and they're at a grave disadvantage traveling like that because half the time they're tired, and they did finally say that those that arrived in Mexico City 2 days ago, that they were resting at a stadium, I guess a sports stadium. Somebody was giving them the opportunity to rest there, and you have people Mexico's donating food and money and clothes and
let's be honest.
What?
America's paying for that.
Oh, you absolutely, and then he claims that we're going to take away the financial aid.
Well, America's paying for that, yeah. So the thing is, the thought process is, and you could go back, and this was some stuff that was done under the President Obama administration. America helps to fund the Mexican immigration policy to stave off those people from coming into the United States. So they're just kind of building up in Mexico, and pretty soon Mexico's gonna be tired of it, if you ask me.
Oh, I believe that. I believe that because, like I said, they have a couple of other groups that are getting together now that's coming this way. So it's gonna be another caravan of people. So they're gonna just kind of collect as they go along. And one thing I have to say about the Hispanics, they do stick together. I mean, come on, you gotta give it.
Yeah.
Now we'd be. Come on, they don't tell me half of us would be
black folks would be snitching.
Right. So at least the Hispanics stick together and they realize that the goal is to get out of the situation that we're in and have better lives for our families. But again, Trump is going to oppose that all the way through. I mean, he's going to, and I truly believe he will pull out the troops. Now, why he would bring active troops, I'm not sure, as opposed to
reserves or
National Guard.
Yeah,
he's just kind of over the top. But he doesn't bring it the way he should. I mean, he's just But at any rate, it's going to start up again. So I'm glad those people who did decide to stay in Mexico have gotten some asylum. They can start to look for work and that sort of thing. The others are coming here. They're like, we're not being sidetracked. We're not dealing with it. They're gonna have to do whatever they need to do to us at the border, but we're headed that way.
Yeah, I think that's a tough situation, a very tough situation, because I liken it to this. Let's say you're at home, and somebody comes in your house, and you're like, man, I'm about to order a pizza, and you're like, okay, you got 5 on it, and they're like, nah, I don't got 5 on it, but I want these toppings.
Okay, yeah, right. You want to make a choice.
You're like, nah, player, you chill out. You get whatever I give you at this point. You know what I mean? Until we can figure something out, because you have to look at what's being brought to the table, and just in regard to this situation, because immigrants have had a major impact in this country in terms of a good impact.
Absolutely.
And so, absolutely, go to any doctor's office. The doctor ain't American.
You're right about that.
Go to any doctor's office.
She may say that he is. If you go to a doctor's office and you say they're not American, say, yes, I am. I have my citizenship. So he'll say that he is. Now, he may not be he's definitely not indigenous. Maybe they got their citizenship.
Citizenship that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we need to get to
that. But they say that they're Americans.
Well, the thing is, they are American, and I think the big thing is, how do I put this? The concept and the idea of what is an American is what's really at risk here in terms of this immigration conversation, because a lot of people look and say, well, if you weren't born here, if you weren't, then you're not an American. Well, the thing is, just historically, if you look throughout the history of the United States, America's been a nation of immigrants.
Absolutely.
Like literally, the people who
Trump,
founded,
his wife,
the
everybody.
people who founded America were immigrants.
Absolutely.
Right, the indigenous people are Native Americans.
Yeah, the Native
so if that's
Americans.
the case, they can say, you're not either.
Exactly, but unfortunately, because of the treaties that they signed with the United States of America, they basically share the land and are on those lands that they've been given, and so it is what it is.
Yeah, well, also moving on towards, I guess, the birthright citizenship, as we were talking about a minute ago. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments were pretty much considered known as the Reconstruction Amendments. And the 14th Amendment basically deals with several aspects of the citizenship and the rights of citizens. Now, what this means in common language is that if a lady were to be here and births a baby here, that baby is a citizen here.
But she's not.
But she's not. So you have to know that some women
do it on purpose.
Yeah, do it on purpose. Step across the line. Okay, I dropped this baby right here. And we're good.
Actually, that's a very lucrative business.
I can imagine that it would
be. People from a lot of European countries, China,
yes.
They pay $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to come and have their babies here.
Really?
Absolutely.
To whom do they pay?
Well, they're traffickers. So
okay.
And again, it's kind of the reverse. See, and this is what a lot of people don't look at in the argument, is that you have the reverse. You have people who have means, who have money, and just want the citizenship, that will say, hey, look, tell you what, I'm going to go over there, have my baby. I'll pay $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, have my baby, and I'm going to go back home because I'm going to come back whenever I want.
Because
and my child
is
exactly. And so you have to look at that side of the coin too.
It's game.
Because exactly, because it's not necessarily just these asylum seekers who are coming and having children here in the United States. So.
Yeah.
I'm just not. I always question anything that similar to this simply because we barely have citizenship here. I mean, hell.
And technically, we're more American than white Americans because we work the land. So when you work the land, it belongs to you.
Well,
we built the infrastructure.
That's called just solo. That's Latin for rights to the soil.
That's right. We built the infrastructure. This country is rich because of us.
Absolutely. And so that's why I'm amazed that other people can just come here and drop a baby and things are
and then it's all good.
Clear.
It's okay. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that, because I think the thing is there's a lot of dynamics that are involved in that. So let's say, for example, somebody comes over here as a student on a student visa. How long are you going to be in the United States? To finish college, you're going to be in the United States 4 to 6 years.
Yeah, 4 to 6 years.
You're 18 to 20 years old. Right. At that time, you are in your reproductive prime.
Right.
So the thing is, the likelihood of a person who's coming here and you came here legally, right? And you just happen to get in a situation with some romance, and you had a baby, and guess what? Now you and your baby are, come on. And so I think that we have to look at every different dynamic of what's happening here. There are people who are taking advantage of the system, and there's some people who it's just caught up in life, And the thing
it happens. It happens on a grand scale, though.
It does, but I think again it goes to foreign policy. It goes to ties into what you're going to talk about a little bit.
Okay, I'm glad you.
Yeah, that's a good segue.
So as Pastor was talking about to my left here, we're going to actually get into the HR 1242 bill, but I want you guys to know that the 14th Amendment addresses citizenship rights and equal protection under the law. The 14th Amendment is intended to protect the rights of former slaves after the American Civil War, which is one of the reasons it was created. Mm-hmm. The 14th Amendment was also approved by Congress in 1866 and ratified by the states on July 9th, 1868. It also establishes that all persons born in the United States are citizens. Now listen to this. The 14th Amendment establishes that all persons born in the United States are citizens and are guaranteed all the rights of citizenship. That's quantum. That's
Yeah,
big. That's major.
It's huge.
That's
it's
huge. Do we have the same autonomy? I don't think. I don't. Just because if I were to have a baby in France, would that automatically include me to?
I
My
think
child would be,
there's I think it's there's about 40 countries that have birthright citizenship, and there's only like 217 I think countries in the world at this point, and so not everywhere, but I think again it ties into this key piece right here, is that America is a country of immigrants. Period.
Yeah,
Point blank.
absolutely.
Period. So if you want to talk about the Native Americans and then Mexicans, because technically, obviously Texas on up was part of Mexico at one point.
Absolutely.
So the thing
And
is,
they want that back.
Well,
They want that
that ain't
back.
gonna happen. But
Right.
but so you have to say, well, were the Mexicans that came to the United States, were those people then immigrants? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the thing is, even if you look at just general migration as a whole, America is a nation of immigrants, and so we have to keep that in mind. And I think people are fearful, and this is where this kind of
Still, we don't fit in because we didn't come here willfully as an immigrant.
Definitely. I think the thing is
Now our people are, of course, that changed, but yeah.
Well, in
initially,
slavery, you didn't have a choice.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, when a person starts off, or anything starts off on the wrong foot, it takes a long time, and it's really hard to put it on the right track.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, because the intent when Africans were brought to the United States was for them to be enslaved
forever.
That mentality does not leave people's minds easily.
Well, Kanye West in his rant, he made comment to that. I mean, while it was all off the chain, there are some good points that he brought out, and I think he made the media. He used the media to disseminate information.
Kanye West needs to.
Well, again, it's a
Keep taking his
distraction.
pills.
Well, he's a distraction.
He takes his medication.
It's a distraction, and this is what is paramount in the Trump administration is look at the left hand, don't pay attention to what this right hand. This is down here, don't worry about that.
That is very true.
Just look at this.
That's very true.
And so he's not going to do anything for anyone.
Yeah.
No race of people, no ethnicity, no gender, no nothing. And so I read somewhere in some of my paperwork that Burma, as well as Dominican Republic, have gone towards, and they said that Trump is kind of leaning towards being like those countries where they call it denationalization. Here we call it statelessness.
Yeah. And see, that's I think the key point is that if he continues with this particular agenda, you're going to create a whole group of stateless people.
Right.
Because
exactly
once a person is born in that country, okay, so why does their home country have to recognize their citizenship? You weren't born.
They shouldn't. They weren't born here.
Exactly.
So you should be like it says here. If you're born here, you're here with all the entitlement.
Exactly. And so the thing is, we also have to keep in mind most other countries have homogenous people groups. They're the same people. So the thing is, they don't necessarily have the issues that we do here, being a nation of immigrants. You speak the same language. Your parents have been there for 3, 4, 5 generations, whatnot. And so the thing is, you don't have the same immigration problems as a place like the United States.
Yeah, we're kind of unique. I just look at the United States more so than a country. I look at it as a corporation.
But it's that too.
Yeah, that's why.
It's that too.
Yeah.
That's
it's
true.
strictly about that business and capitalistic
Country.
society.
Corporation.
Corporation. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And people don't know that your birth certificate. Do you know about that?
Yeah.
See, birth. Can you finish my statement?
No. Go ahead. Go ahead. It's y'all show. So.
No. But I was just saying. A lot of people don't know that your birth certificate depends on how it's typed. Your name is typed on that. You are traded on the New York Stock Exchange because you belong to the corporation of America.
Right. Wow.
Most people don't know that. So you don't own anything.
Of course not.
Not even one's life.
We own you.
I know, right? That's basically
We're owned.
that's the corporate mindset. So again, let's kind of talk about HR 42. Cause I know you got a
I
lot
thought that was
to say.
amazing. When you told me about that, I said, "What is this law? What is she talking about?"
Most people
And
don't know.
so-
That's what we do
it's
here,
a-
though.
yeah.
About you. We try to tell you things that are going on.
You getting the undercover.
Oh yeah, I'm you know,
Hidden
trying
secrets
to get
here.
it out. But see, people, unless you are twerking or regurgitating, oh yeah, I'm serious. Unless
Yeah.
you're twerking or regurgitating celebrity news
Yeah,
and sports, other than that, people don't want to listen. They don't want to know.
That's true.
They don't want to be awakened. And
Yeah.
see, the world right now requires that us as a people be woke.
Be woke.
Yeah.
It's
You
a
know?
woke. It's a woke show.
I'm trying to tell
Y'all
you,
need
you
to
know,
know.
trying to get all this together. So let's say this. Okay, on January 8th, 2018, a bill was quietly passed, which would begin the gathering of historical materials that would mark the 400th year since the beginning of slavery, which will be in August of 2019. That's the 400 years. Now, for those of you who are biblical, you may connect this to the 400 years of captivity the children of Israel would endure, as per Genesis and Deuteronomy, in a foreign land where they would be slaves to those in power. In addition to this, it's very clear that the world is being shaken up and that something is happening. Silky, I know you've heard me say over the last couple of months, there's something brewing. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's something major, okay? So, and I guess I'm just reiterating it here in this document that I'm reading. But, and also in the Revelation portion of the Bible, you know, there are areas that basically, the Bible is prophesying and it's coming to true life.
Mhm.
Okay, so you have something called eschatology.
Mhm.
Eschatology studies
It's a study of end time.
the study
Yeah,
of
or
end
the
time.
end, the end of all things.
That's right. So that's major now. So I think on that, I got 2 minutes. Okay, cool. Okay. But yeah, eschatology is the study of the end time. So I'm sure we're seeing a lot more of that now because we're seeing so many signs of the Bible fulfilling itself
You know,
Sure.
in every angle, from weather to people, you know, and
wars and rumors.
wars and rumors of wars and you know all of that. So it's really something that we need to pay attention to because I do believe all of this has a spiritual connotation,
Absolutely.
and so that's what we want to talk about when we come back. But I think at that note, I'm going to take a break. How about that? We'll be right back. Yeah, so you looked it up, huh?
Oh,
And
yeah.
I wanted you because you're African. You know, I wanted all of those
I mean,
things.
I mean, but it's, you know, I'm the kind of person I study anyway. So when you sent it to me, I was like, you know, let me look at it. I'm like, they ain't tell nobody about this.
Did you hear me say quietly?
They did not tell.
They don't.
But you know what? The thing is, and as I was looking into it a little bit more, and are you going to cover the fact that it's ran mainly by donations? Did you notice that?
I did know, so I'm gonna let you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't have.
Well, no, you
I had so many things
you
that I was
got
doing.
it. You got
No, I don't want to miss anything. See,
Oh,
I'm
you
trying
got
to
the whole
thing.
acquisition.
I got
Okay.
all that. So
Yeah.
we
So
can all just take some of
I'm
the.
gonna have to.
That doesn't break it down, I don't think. That's just giving you a general overview.
Well, I mean, it's in here. It's just this part is so see that right there. Basically, the commission, their part of their job is to get the money to fund it. So this is not. It's even though it's a law, it's not a funded law.
So what is it? I mean, it's just.
Basically, it basically boils down to a forced recognition that we're going to recognize them, but we're not necessarily going to pay to make anything.
So no reparations, no
So
nothing.
bingo,
Okay, so
bingo.
what's
So-
Okay. Yeah, say all that.
Wait, recognize who? Wait, what? Yeah, I'll let you explain it.
Well, I don't have it. I'm still trying. I want to get to the biblical. I know there's a biblical side too because spiritual war we're fighting. And we are back. You're listening to All About You with OMG and Friends. I am OMG and I am your host. I'm here with my co-host
Silky Smooth.
and pastor.
Pastor Samoye.
Okay, so now we're going to move forward, guys, and talk about the HR, which in my mind means Human Resource. No, I said why.
But of
HR
course it's
1242. You know, it
House
may
of
have some
Representatives.
undercover. It have a whole bunch of
That's
different
what it
connotations.
is. HB would, yeah.
Huh?
SB would.
House
House
resolution.
resolution?
See, I tell you, I have quite a few
Okay.
acronyms. As I said, we could all come up
Yeah,
with
they
something.
told us
Thank
that.
you. We have our historian over to the right. This measure, as I said, was quietly introduced January, at the first of the year. And so basically what it is, the bill is to establish the 400 Years of African American History Commission to develop and carry out activities throughout the United States to commemorate the 400th anniversary of the arrival of Africans in the English colonies at Point Comfort, Virginia in 1619. The commission must plan programs to acknowledge the impact that slavery and laws that enforced racial discrimination had on the United States. It is to encourage civic, patriotic, historical, educational, artistic, religious, as well as economic organizations to organize and participate in anniversary activities. Assist the states, the localities, and nonprofit organizations to further the commemoration and coordinate for the public scholarly research on the arrival of Africans in the United States and their contributions to this country. Now, I just present all of this. Now, I'm going to go into, the commission may provide grants to communities and nonprofit organizations for the development of programs, grants to research and scholarly organizations to research, publish, or distribute information relating to the arrival of African Americans. So, in other words, you want to give all these accolades to us now?
Yeah.
Why not at year 200? Why now? See, it ties into me from a biblical standpoint that, you know, there's a force that's a higher force that's kind of reckoning this. Go ahead, tell me what you think.
I mean, and I'm not one who's really good at Jewish numerology. That's they kind of basically break down the numbers, and each number is assigned a particular thing.
Sure.
I.e., for example, the number 7, because of the 7th day, it was a day of completion.
God's number for completion.
Yeah.
So,
5,
yeah, so
the number for
is that-
favor, God's number for favor, and then 3 represents the Holy Trinity.
Well, shoot,
the
you-
triune God.
Yeah.
Come on now, you get the ties today.
And then year 8 is new beginnings. You know?
So
Right.
I think that I definitely think that there are some ties into what's happening, but there's some things that are it depends on how you read it in the text, and I think a lot of people who read in terms of we're talking about Genesis chapter 15 verse 13, looking at the 400-year freedom, people who, and when it comes to African American blacks, that tend to read it, they tend to read it from what's called a Hebrew Israelite lens, basically that the black people are the original Jewish people, and therefore they have a right to the land of Israel. I don't read it that way. I don't think that that's biblically accurate, because you have to literally discount almost 90% of the Bible in order to get to that juncture.
Okay.
And so for that reason, I don't agree with that. But the Hebrew Israelite movement, which started in Chicago in I think it was in the 80s, 70s, 80s, they read the text that way. And so not to be necessarily dismissive of it, but I think it's important to realize, as Psalm says, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. And so we have to realize that what is happening is still a God movement, right?
Yes.
It's still including African American people, it's still including Africans, it's still including Jewish people, but we have to kind of make sure we're in our appropriate lane as
relates to the different
exactly the different movements. And what that is basically this is keeping in step with what the Holy Spirit of God is doing. That's the key thing in all this, because you get a lot of people who have a lot of frustration and anger. Oh man, you know, them Jewish people, they came over here, they took our land, and then, well, the current state of Israel was reestablished in 1947, 1948. So what were you doing with the land then? Like where were you at then? You know, you see what I'm saying?
Right.
You literally to come to the conclusion that the 400 years is speaking only about African American people, you have to look past not only the Jewish Egyptian slavery, which some people now say the Bible is historically inaccurate, and so there was never Jews in Egypt, and there was never slaves that built the pyramid. And so
7 different times.
Yeah, and so that's the thing. A lot of people say, "Oh, okay, no, that's not necessarily true." But then you have to again throw away the Roman, the Greek influence in terms of the land of Israel. So you have to throw all those things away. The Ottoman Empire, which the Ottoman Empire just recently ended. The British colonial protectorate. So you have to literally throw all of those things out in order to come to that conclusion. And so that's not only historically inaccurate, but it's also biblically inaccurate.
Wow. So I don't like inaccuracies. I don't like things that don't work.
Right.
You know, so where does that leave us? I mean, what does all this mean? I mean, why do we need it? It's not funded. It's a program that
Right, so they just put it on there. It's just for show.
Yeah, it's like having a party, but you got to pay to get to the party.
Yes and no. I think number one, it's significant that our government representatives are actually pushing for this. I think that's significant.
Well, you don't think that's, election year? I think there are a lot of things that precipitated all of this interest because, as I said, 400 years is commemorative. Yes, I get that, but at no other time have we been publicly appreciated, and not to the tune of a law that's been introduced. And why was it so quiet? If it was such a great thing, it should have been over the top.
And I agree with that, but I think it goes to a point of the primary issue is it would look like reparations.
Well,
if it was government funded, it would look like reparations.
Everybody else has been given 40 acres and a mule. They've gotten reparations. And we're about to, and I think Obama, didn't he sign something during the office or something where we should be getting some sort of, I thought that's what it was, but that keeps coming. That conversation has been over 20 years. I've heard more about it, getting the reparations than not, and then black people don't need it, they don't deserve it.
No, we do need it.
I wouldn't say about all that don't deserve it.
Well, I believe we do, but I'm just saying, again, how they minimize everything as it relates to us.
If others who've had far less trials than us got reparations,
right.
and
but,
we do
not.
not.
When it comes to us, everything is different.
It's always different.
It's always different.
And I don't want to lead the show anywhere.
No, just take.
Well,
we just
well,
talking. That's what this is about. I think ideas and thoughts.
I think when it comes to the point of birthright citizenship, and I don't want to skip too far ahead.
No, just
in regard to some of the things that what Ghana is doing, I think that's in the right track.
Now, right. Ghana, from what I've read, as you guys may know, as part of this, Ghana has quickly to open their arms to receive either African Americans as well as Caribbeans to come and live there.
Oh, to just leave the U.S.
Leave the U.S. That's what I just said. It's to get y'all up out of here, okay? Get up out of here.
Yeah.
We got a place that will receive you. You can live well there. You Negroes go back. All black people are not African. But I'm just saying. That's what it feels.
Well, no. I think perception is key. So here's the. I had the great joy of going to Israel twice. And
so this is why I wanted you. I know you had, you're African raised, you know the Bible. This is like a perfect storm right here. Go ahead.
So, going to Israel, they have what's called Aliyah, or basically the right of return. And what they do is when you
right of return, that's it.
When you become 18 years old, you have the government funds you coming back to the country to see if you want to become a citizen of the country.
For those that were taken from
are born abroad.
Okay.
And so I'm going to talk fast.
Go ahead.
I'm going to talk fast, but because otherwise I just really want it to be clear for those who are listening and those who are watching.
Yeah, and then I'll acknowledge our listeners.
So in 1947, 1948, when World War II was coming to a close, wealthy Jewish people got together and they said, okay, this is our chance to get our land back.
This is always a meeting before the meeting. You know that?
Exactly.
And we're never part of it. It's always a meeting before us.
So what they did was they basically contacted those because at the time in World War II, the Jews were being heavily persecuted. And they have it written in the newspaper that they were killing Jews. Obviously, Hitler was killing Jews by hundreds of thousands, millions.
Right.
And so they got on boats and they left. And they got to the port in Australia, and Australia said, if we take one Jew, we took too many. Turn around and go back. Right? And so, well, the thing is, how would that make you feel? If they said, if we took one of y'all off that boat, we took too many of y'all. Y'all go back. And they're literally sending you to your death.
Right. We don't want
and so what ended up happening at that point is these wealthy Jewish leaders at that time said, you know what? We're going to do our best to get our homeland. So they went back to Israel, and those who were in Israel, they just started buying up land. And they're buying up literally patches of sand. It's nothing. It's just nothing. They're buying up swamps. And so as they're buying it all up, there were some places that people lived. Obviously, the Palestinian conflict, this gets into the Palestinian conflict. But basically, as the war ended, the nation of Israel said, "Hey, we're an independent nation." And basically, now this gets into a whole lot of things that are pretty controversial, but basically, the British and the U.S. said, "Okay, cool," and by them helping to ratify that, those being the strongest nations at the end of World War II, right? It basically said everybody needs to recognize Israel. And that's why even today so many people have like an issue with the nation of Israel, because it's like after we done got whooped up on and we don't have no money, no guns, you want to go out here. Yeah. But that's keto. That's wisdom. But anyway, so then you fast forward, and then what took place from there? What took place from there was the country of Israel went to war with 5 neighboring countries. I believe it's Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, and a couple other countries that were neighboring, Syria. And they said, look, we're not going to allow this because you're taking that land. We don't want you to take that land. Israel beat all 5 countries. Now, these are people who literally just got off boats, were starving and hungry. But that goes to show the tenacity and the determination of people who you would have otherwise killed. Now, I say that to say this. As much as sometimes African Americans complain, we won't use that same energy in a positive way.
I know, right?
And to me, if Ghana's saying, hey, look, y'all could come back, y'all could come here, there does have to be a lot of research to be done, a lot of questions to be answered. But why don't we use that energy to say, okay, how can we
Let's consider it.
Yeah.
Consider it. Let's look into the matter.
Absolutely.
And some people may be.
I think there are some people.
Well, you have about 3,000, if not 3,500 people that have left here and gone to live in Ghana.
I think it's, you know, at first people are kind of like, well, you know, then as they hear more about it and they research, I think you're probably going to see more people do that. Because I've run into a whole lot of African Americans that want to make their exodus. They don't necessarily want to be here. I'm seeing that a whole lot more and more over the past 10 years.
I think all of us are not Africans. So I don't know if that's going to be the answer where all black people have to go there.
Correction, everybody's African.
Well, yes, that's true.
Right.
The genome of the DNA.
Mankind started in Central
so
Africa and people evolved
right
out.
So I think again, this goes to the narrative that we've been given, and that's why I appreciate this bill. That's why I appreciate this law.
Well, I'm glad
because it goes to say that, hey, look, we need to look at the good that's been done. We need to look at the good that these people are doing. Just one example of that is America. If you go and look at the World Economic Forum, you can see it. They just recently did the research. America is the #1 PhD country in the entire world. Right? We have the most PhDs in the entire world. A couple years back, Houston Chronicle did a study. Nigerians have the most PhDs in the United States. So what does that mean? That means Nigerians are the most educated people in the world.
Yeah.
Well, you know, this guy.
Hands down.
Yeah, there was a
But
guy.
I hear white people acknowledge that all the time. So where is he from? Nigeria? Oh, boy.
They also have good game. Now, don't get it twisted. I mean, that's
you got a list of things
do.
we say about Nigerians.
Well, we all do. I'm just saying they got good game, but they are smart.
Smart.
But see, I watched something on YouTube the other day when they were talking about some of the 3,500 people that have moved to Ghana, and they were just saying basically that it's very peaceful. There's no sign of any inclination whatsoever of any uprising, or not like we are here, kind of frantic. The lifestyle is smooth. You can live well with less money, $100,000, get a house built. You got some land, sun, the beach is right there. The foods are awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, they said that one of the main things that people had an issue with was the traffic.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, now I've not been to Ghana. I'm from Nigeria. That's what Africa raised me.
Africa raised all of us.
Exactly. Yeah. Go. But in all seriousness, I did spend some time in Nigeria after my mom passed away, and I was in Nigeria for 3 months as a teenager. And the thing that was significant, I felt that peace as a teenager.
That's what they're saying. That's one of the main things that I extrapolated from watching it was the piece that this cat. Now he left here. The guy who was driving the taxi or whatever, he had been there 5 or 6 years, and he was like, "I'll never go back. This is a whole nother lifestyle, a whole nother way of living. You know, being healthy. The beach is right there. The fruits and vegetables are awesome. I mean, you just walk down the street." But then, more importantly, they spoke of family.
Yeah.
How you feel connected, the connectedness when you're over there. See, we're so disjointed here.
Well, part of it is the pace of life.
Yes, I'd imagine. Yes.
The pace of life is totally different, so you can't necessarily engage the same way
that you have to
that you
here.
that you do
You're
here.
kind
You have to.
It's by
You don't have a
force.
choice. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
But
and
it was never set up that way. So that you have that peace, that inner peace, that familial connection, even with people of whom you were not related.
But
You're
you
not
still have
relations,
some
you
sort
still
of-
have that peace.
You have something in
and then-
common with them.
Right. And they see it that way. They accept you where here it's not that way. But if we go there, we're embraced.
Absolutely.
and I think it's even with that, there's still some hairs to pull there, because even though I think that African Americans are embraced back in Africa, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about African.
Well, we've always been
as well.
told that
Mhm.
Africans don't necessarily care for African Americans.
Or they don't respect us.
Not,
I didn't. I've not heard. Yeah, well,
I-
similar,
I wouldn't-
similar
I wouldn't
situation.
say
Well, you're
that.
from Africa. Just tell us.
Okay, I'll tell you a personal story.
Okay.
Right? I'll tell you a personal story. So my parents came here in the '80s to go to school. As a matter of fact, there was a law in place that was keeping people from coming to the United States, and that law got lifted in the 1980s.
Okay.
That's when you started seeing a large
Oh,
influx
influx,
of
yeah.
Africans, right, and Indians and whatnot. And so once that law got lifted, a lot of Africans came here to study agriculture to go back home.
Oh, they take that
to be-
information.
yeah.
Right.
And so one person that my dad met in particular was one of his professors who was African American. And, excuse my language, but the professor told him, why don't you just take your black ass back to Africa, right? And so one of the things that happened
A
was
professor said that?
a professor
Wow.
told him that. And so the thing is, one of the things that happened was Africans thought they would be embraced by African Americans. And when
So
they
it was us,
came,
it was on this
when
side.
they came, it wasn't what they thought it was going to be.
Okay.
But then again, because a lot of Africans did not understand the history of slavery and the history
Well, it
of
started with Africans.
Well,
I mean,
well, yeah, but not-
Africans had slaves.
But
yes
their
and no.
slavery, it was
Totally-
different.
Okay,
You
it
could
was
become a
different, but
part
it
of
was-
family.
It
You
was
could
still
own land.
slavery. We sold each other. Okay, look at
It was
You can
Yes.
sugarcoat. Go ahead. What
Yeah.
were you
the
saying?
dignity was it was
Oh, I
different.
don't- I don't
it was
doubt
different.
that. I
It was
was down
different.
for
Well, the thing is, a lot of time it was based off of war. So the thing is, if we were at war, right, it only makes sense to me to say, you know what, you're a slave and you can't go anywhere. Why?
Come
Because
stay.
I don't want you to go to war with me again.
Right.
So that just makes sense. Now people come and start saying, you know what, I'm gonna give you a gun so you could beat him in the war. Then you say, you know what, take him with you. I don't want him either.
Right.
So you got to look at it from a very practical standpoint, right? Why would I have this person who I just burned their village down living in mine? He gonna poison my food one day.
Right.
So we can't really just think about it and say, well, black folk did this to black folk, and it's like, well, white folk do stuff to white folk too. You know how many wars have been fought in England?
Right.
Yeah.
You know how, like, let's
nothing to do with us,
that
right.
had nothing to do with black folk. You know what I'm saying? You could literally go through and talk about every monarchy that changed hands that went to war in England. So that was white folk. So it's not to say that, oh, these people are better or worse. People are people. You know what I mean? And that's what comes down to humanity. You know what I mean? Humans
That's
hurt
right. Yeah,
humans.
That's right.
Right.
And us knowing that, we have to really put ourselves in a position to where we can say, how can I do
What can
as-
and what can I do?
what can I do and how can I do it
Mhm.
to help uplift humanity? And especially, it really doesn't matter your race, but if you know that person has been oppressed in the past.
Not
Well, I
to
think everybody's
mention,
going to oppress us at white folks.
Right.
Go
right. I
ahead.
feel that too. Not only that, the slavery system in Africa was interesting because the slave could become a part of the family. They could marry the owner's daughter or marry the owner, own land, and eventually they work themselves out of slavery. So, and sometimes they will even come, like for instance, if people were coming from Nigeria and they don't have anywhere to go, say, I'll sell myself as a slave, but he works his way out. His language is not changed. His name is not
Well,
changed.
that's what
He's still
dignity
the-
and
but-
integrity. I
right.
get that.
That's what I'm saying.
But,
So
you know,
it
I had-
wasn't.
Yeah,
it
I
was
had friends from
nothing like
I had a
it
girlfriend
was
I went
here.
to grad school. She was from Eritrea, and I think they had 5 different people, slaves, if you will. One raised the children, one drove, one cooked dinner, one kept the house clean. So again, and so she said we had slaves. So again, when I think of slavery, I think of Africans selling Africans to the people who came, to Africa to learn about slavery. Or I think they learned it from us. No?
No.
You think there was
Here it
slavery?
got out of hand. Chattel slavery was here. That's
Okay.
Yeah.
brutal.
Yeah.
That's the brutality, and it got out of hand because you've got all these Africans working the land. You're getting richer and richer. They're not letting that go.
Well,
Yeah.
they never do.
Yeah,
People with money and power only want more money
Money and power.
That is very true. And then the other side of that, that's a flip side of the coin, is that in terms of how you became a slave, i.e., this kind of the genesis of you could say chattel slavery, came when slaves were taken to Europe, and the Pope was given 5 slaves. The Pope at the time was given 5 slaves. And then it said, hey, look, these dark people are good for slaves. Number one, they're dark skinned. So
they can be out in the sun. They can.
well,
do
no.
whatever they want.
At that point, it was like you could recognize them.
Oh yeah, okay.
You know, if you're
Yeah.
around a whole bunch of
white
yeah,
people,
you
yeah,
just
but
say,
Negroes, yeah, right.
hey, black person going too far.
Right.
Come here. You know what I'm saying? And so that was very easy. But then the thing is, because they were hardworking people, and they were literally moral people too. Like a lot of people
We're very
think.
compassionate people.
Yeah,
It's
very
used to
compassionate
be.
people.
We've been changed.
Not only that,
Well-
they were strong. They could withstand
Well,
the white
then
man's
there you go. Well, that's
diseases.
what
They
I-
didn't.
all of
They
that.
didn't. They didn't die off like the Native American died off. They tried to enslave them, but they couldn't withstand the white man's diseases.
That's what's
Very true.
we
That's
have
a
that
good point.
melanin.
That's a good point.
That melanin.
Right.
And so, but I still think at the end of the day, it doesn't make anybody higher or better than anybody else. But I think we just have to take advantage of the opportunities that we're given now.
So you see this as
I see it as
Right.
a good thing, because those who do want to fund it, I think it's unfortunate that it wasn't funded.
right.
But I think that those who do want to fund it have the ability to fund it. But who in their right mind would say, you know what, let me give the government my money so the government can go celebrate
Black people and what they've done.
Yeah, and so the thing is, it's more than likely that person who would make that donation would do it another way anyway. So that's the thing that's unfortunate about that.
See, I don't know what's going to come of this, because the commissionship will terminate on July 1st of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got a short stint in which
And
to
then
do
it's
this.
going to go away.
And all of the expenditures of the commission shall be made solely from donated funds. See, there's
And
a
it's
catch.
quiet, so nobody donates because they don't know about it.
Again, it's a vicious.
Well, part of it is the commission's supposed to be going out to find the donors. That's part of what their job is. But I think
I've not heard anything. The year's almost over.
very, very true. And I think the thing is, the way we looked at the bicentennial and we knew it was coming. We knew this was coming in terms of as a country. But I think given the situation that we find ourselves in. It's funny I use the word situation, because that's a word they use in Israel, because everybody was given the situation with the Palestinians, this fight that's always going on. It's just very interesting. I think it's very interesting. So
Before we go, please, LaShawn Bennett, thank you for checking in. Frederick, thank you for checking in. Evelyn, Daydream,
Hey.
yes, keep watching. Thank you for checking in.
Yeah, so guys, again, you can.
Oh yeah, Chris Hayes.
You can study this information and find the PDF on the HR 1242 bill. I guess Pastor Festus Amoye would say it's something that they should probably be privy to.
absolutely, I would go look it up. Go look it up right now. Just Google. That's why Google's there. Go
Right.
Google it right now.
And on that note, I think you have you forgot our stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, guys, I want you to just
Coming
kind of
from-
take us out, because so again, you're basically feeling like Genesis 15:13
Mm-hmm.
is not just solely for this.
No, I could say that would be biblically in error
Okay.
to say that, but I think that
And we don't
One
want
of
to be
the-
biblically inerrant.
one of the things that is true according to Colossians is that we see that the gospel is being shared throughout the world, and it's growing and it's being fruitful. And I think that's the major thing that we have to look at, is
That's
that
the good thing.
right now God is doing a work reconciling people to himself. You just
That's
have
right.
to ask yourself, are you part of that?
What
Right.
team are you on?
What team are you on?
And
Pick a
on
side.
that note, guys, we'd like to thank you for joining us. Next week, we're going to talk about something else that you probably don't know about, and that's called the Mandela effect.
The Mandela effect.
effect.
Hey, thank you guys for having me.
We'd
Thank
love
you
to
for
have you.
being
It's
here.
our pleasure.
Shout out to Bridge of Light.
Absolutely. That's right.
Absolutely. Thank you. Have a good week.
Mandela effect is called that because second. Hey guys. The big rush. We're everybody.